Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. A parliamentary panel has expressed concerns over the safety of aging dams in India. The Standing Committee on Water Resources, in its 20th report, has raised the issue of safety risks posed by more than 200 dams across the country. Citing the National Register of Large Dams 2019, the panel says there are 234 large dams in India which are 100 years old and are still functional. Dams are normally designed for approximately 100 years of useful age. Their functional life gets decreased with progressive reservoir sedimentation concurrently reducing project benefits. So this is what has been submitted by the parliamentary panel in its report. What recommendations have been made to improve the safety and operational performance of large dams in India? Also, what are the mechanisms in place for maintenance of dams and prevention of dam-related disasters in the country? All this and much more in perspective today. Joining me is an illustrious panel. So let me begin by introducing the panelists to you. With me in the studio is Mr. Guman Singh Damor. He's a member of parliament and he's also a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Water Resources. Next to him is Professor Dr. P.S.N. Rao, former Director, School of Planning and Architecture. And next to him is Professor Anil Gupta, Policy Planning, National Institute for Disaster Management. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. And joining me virtually are two more guests, Mr. N.K. Mathur, former member, Design and Research, Central Water Commission, Dr. Mukta Girdhar, Senior Consultant, Delhi Disaster Management Authority. Thank you to both of you as well for joining us on the program. So before we begin talking about the concerns, the recommendations of the Standing Committee on Water, on the aging dams in the country, let me begin by understanding from Professor Rao first about the significance of dams in India. Professor Rao, India has the third highest number of dams behind the US and China. Tell us about how important, how essential dams are for the critical infrastructure of the country and also in terms of meeting the water, energy security of our growing population.
Absolutely. I think dams are a very, very important component of the infrastructure in any nation. We popularly believe that dams are essentially meant for irrigation purposes, but in addition to that, they also produce a lot of energy. Electricity, hydroelectricity is one of the major functions of dams. Right. And in addition to that, India being essentially an agrarian economy, irrigation channels, water for major irrigation, minor irrigation is something which is extremely important. More than that, there is a complete ecosystem for these dams because essentially when you are blocking rivers and when you are constructing dams, dams are of several types. You have earthen dams, you have concrete dams, you have large dams, you have small dams and several other appurtenant infrastructure related to that. So it constitutes a very, very major component of the Indian economy because power and agriculture are two major areas. And then there are human settlements. There are settlements upstream, there are settlements downstream. And it is from the rivers that water is tapped into the human settlements as well. So therefore, the dams are going to light our homes, light our industries, and are a backbone for the economy because without energy you can't really run an economy. And at the same time, agriculture, there are so many parts of this country where you don't have adequate water and so many parts of the country where you are essentially dependent upon underground water. Right. So therefore, river water is essential. So when you have dams and then when you essentially build dams, you need to change the course of rivers. So there are channels and sub-channels which are also constructed. So there is a major interference in the ecosystem. So the environment also gets affected. The flora fauna also gets affected. There is a major, and then in a very large country like India where you have so many rivers, so it is a major lifeline, you can say, and it has environmental implications. And obviously the life of these dams becomes extremely important because dams are built with different kinds of materials. And concrete dams obviously have much longer life, but then you can't say that the earthen dams don't have.
You're right. So we'll come to the lifespan and the durability factor of the dams in India in just a bit. But having understood from Professor Rao about how significant dams are for a growing population like India's, the next big question is how safe are our dams? So now the Parliamentary Panel Standing Committee on Water, which submitted its report to Parliament on the 20th of March, it recommended that the Jal Shakti Ministry take suitable measures to ensure the safety of aging dams in the country. The Standing Committee on Water Resources, which submitted a report which expressed concerns about the safety of aging dams in India, it quoted the National Register of Large Dams 2019. So, reiterating the numbers that the committee proposed, there are 234 functional large dams in India, which are 100 years old. The report adds the dams in India are normally designed for approximately 100 years of useful age. Thereafter, progressive sedimentation reduces the functional life as well as the benefits of the dams. Also, the panel reported 5 major instances of leakages and failure, but noted that no dams have so far been decommissioned in India. It also noted that there is no mechanism to assess the viable lifespan and performance of the dams. It added that from an environmental perspective also, no dam has been decommissioned in the country, while stating that regular maintenance of dams is undertaken for the health assessment and safety of the dams. Dams in India are mostly owned by state governments, public sector undertakings, private agencies that carry out the operation and maintenance, which is the O&M works of the dams in their jurisdiction. So these were some of the recommendations, the concerns that the panel has cited in its report. We have a member of the Standing Committee on Water joining us on the program also, as I just introduced to him. So let me understand from the Honourable Member of Parliament about what is the basis of this report and the fact that, you just shared with us that you've been a civil engineer. So from that aspect, if you could share with us about why even after so many years, we've not been able to follow the rules in principle that when dams have a lifespan of 100 years, a large part of our dams, we quote 234 in the report, they are over 100 years old, some of them more than 300 years old. So why have they still not been decommissioned?
Very well said. Our engineers, thanks to our engineers, because normally dams are designed for 100 years. But in India, there are a few dams having more than 300 years life. The lifespan is depending upon the sedimentation, basically. If we able to control the sedimentation, then life will increase. The basic thing is the dam should be safe for storing that much capacity, the basic thing. So if dam is safe, then its life may increase from 100 to 200 years. There are, as you said, there are 234 dams having more than 100 years of life. It means these dams are designed very well and they are functioning very well. But as a member of this Committee on Water Resources, I would like to say that we have not evolved any mechanism to determine the exact life of that dam. So our committee decided to request the government that we should evolve some mechanism by which we can determine the life of the dam, and not only that, the operation of the dam also. Many times we do not have such information that which dam is safe, which dam is not safe, and it may cause lot of damage to our country. Therefore, the main intention of this committee was to evolve such mechanism so that we can save our lives. We can save many villages in downstream, as said Professor Rao.
You're right, and we've had several disasters in the past also.
Definitely, we had many dams. As you said, I would like to explain. Basically, dams, there are 3 types of dam. Number one is earthen dam, then composite dam, concrete dam, and then third one is concrete dam. Earthen dam, composite dam, and concrete dam. So if the foundation is not suitable for concrete dam, then it may overturn. There are some examples of that. We have another category, major dam, the irrigation capacity, if more than 10,000 hectare, then that dam will be major dam. If the irrigation capacity is in between 2,000 to 10,000 hectare, then it will be medium dam, and below 2,000 hectare irrigation capacity, then it is minor dam. So this is all depend upon our maintenance, O&M. What our government did, considering all factors, one bill was introduced in 2019, and this bill was passed by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and in the year 2021, on 13 December 2021, one act was implemented.
Right.
And by that, each and everything is well defined, what to do and what not to do. There is National Committee on Dam Safety, then there is authority, then State Committee on Dam Safety, then State Organization on Dam Safety, and they have cleared their duties and powers. So it will help a lot in maintenance of dam and their operation.
Okay, so when you say there are several bodies looking into it, we have legislation that was passed in 2021. Mr. Mathur, if I may come to you and understand from you, what are the current guidelines that exist today for the safety inspection of dams? We are concerned about the aging, but when it comes to maintenance, what we also know is that it's being looked after by state governments, by the PSUs, by private agencies. So what are the guidelines that govern the maintenance and the safety aspect of dams in the country?
Madam, first I will thank the parliamentary committee that it has drawn the attention of government to a very important aspect, and this aspect has become much more pronounced after the passing of Dam Safety Act. Then we have got a very nice perspective from our honorable MP, who has given, who is also a professional civil engineer also, and has a large public life. So he understands the importance of these aspects. I would like to draw your attention to the fact which our honorable MP also said. There are two types of things. One is called life of reservoir and another is called life of dam. So life of reservoir is governed by the siltation aspects, that is its outlets are not choked and it has got a still live capacity is available for useful things, and we design it for normally 100 years, but there is no bar. If it runs for 150 years or 160 years, we will be more than happy. We will even remove the chokings and flush the sediment so that the life of reservoir gets extended. We have got a functional dam of Chola period, although this is not in this list because it is only 18 feet high. But on Kaveri, there is a dam which was constructed in 150 AD. That is that was at Chola period, and still it is functioning very, very well. Then there is another thing which is called life of dam. Now, dam means a wall, which, as our honorable MP also said, it has got some earthen dams or concrete dams, and concrete is young at 100 years. Concrete does not get old at 100 years, and earthen embankment, they become part of the earth's surface in 100 years. So only thing regarding structural life is about the moving parts like gates and all those things, which can be repaired or replaced as we move ahead. Then we come to the dam safety guidelines. After Machu Dam failure, we had a serious churning how we should ensure the dam safety. Right. And then Central Water Commission started developing the protocols for dam safety inspections, how the dam safety inspection should be done, what should be the qualification of the people, what should be the frequency, and what should be the remedial measures. So from a small unit headed by a deputy director to now we have come to Dam Safety Act, where we have got a National Committee on Dam Safety, in place, headed by a member level officer of Central Water Commission. We have developed over the last 40-50 years a robust mechanism to ensure the dam safety aspects in the country, for which we had got huge support from Parliament, various parliamentary committees, which pushed this Dam Safety Act in position. And now we have got a formal mechanism where we have got a three-tier dam safety mechanism: one at owner level, two at state level, and three at central level. Most of the responsibilities are there, which have been crystallized at owner level. Owner should get the inspection done. Owner should get the first filling done. Owner should take care of all the aspects of the dam safety. Owner should maintain the dam properly so that it doesn't crystallize into a dam safety disaster. Then there is a state level committee and state level organizations which supervise these inspections, which see whether this has been done properly or not. And then at a central level, there is a National Committee on Dam Safety, which more or less give guidelines, policy decisions, technical inputs, handholding support to both owners and the state government, and all those things. There is a 3 years grace period. So the Dam Safety Act was notified somewhere in the December 2021. So up to the December 2024, all these mechanisms should be in place. They actually are in place from right from 1980s, but they were not as per the Act. Act has been passed only recently, and so the work is being done that they become conforming to the Act.
Right. So let's talk about the implementation. Professor Gupta, let me come to you. What Mr. Mathur suggests is that the Dam Safety Act of 2021 has brought about certain changes. In the little time that we've spent after 2021, how has the implementation been? Also, how has it strengthened the aspect of dam safety? Can we say with confidence that a disaster like 1979 will not happen again in the country?
See, this is very important issue. Because once the legislation is there in place, now we will have to see the capacity gaps, and we'll have to address the capacities so that this can be implemented well. Now, when basically the similar aspect like an occupier and an authority that is dealing with a particular dam has to strengthen its basically not only the planning process but entire gamut of activities. So it's all round activity, all round the year basically, and this requires a lot of capacity building also. So the training of people who are involved, because now new process, for example, the Honorable Member of Parliament referred to that how to estimate the aging of the dams. This is one area, and when these tools are being developed, so now basically how these stakeholders who are into the management are really able to do that, because all the time external factors coming and helping it may be important in the initial times, but not all the times. Right. Second thing which is also important, that dam safety being central, we also have to look at it as a system. So dam cannot be treated as in isolation with the land system. It is a part of the land system, and as Mr. Mathur also referred that after some time it becomes part of that land system. So upstream, downstream, and the nearby landscape that may include the habitations also, that may include flora, fauna, forests. So how the things are interlinked to each other, and for that reason basically the concepts like disaster impact assessment. So dam, the safety of dam itself is one aspect, but how the placing of a dam and operation of dam makes sure the safety of the surrounding the infrastructure also.
In fact, if I may ask you, yes, India's rehabilitation resettlement project is said to be among the largest in the world. So how have we made this possible? How do we ensure that the masses who are displaced because of dam projects, they are rehabilitated and resettled and are safe?
Yeah, there has been lot of issues also, but those were resolved one by one. And India being a large country, and in fact if we see water as the previous speaker also referred to, water is central to the development anywhere, and likewise in India also. And in disaster management, we often say that too much of water, it is a disaster, and too less water, it is a disaster. And dams basically came as a kind of a solution to that, because initially we recall that it was called as Baadh Ayog, National Flood Commission. So primarily the thought process started with that bringing dams as a solution to floods, then on the other part as a solution to drought also. So basically the equal distribution, are they rationalizing the distribution of water to the land areas which needs from where it is surplus. So basically these are the kind of issues. So certainly the social dimensions come into picture, the ecological dimensions come into picture, and as Mr. Mathur also referred to, if we look at the previous the dam related challenges, many were related with operational issues. And like in dams, we also talk that when we alter the river course, so the concept of environmental flow, now it is being recognized and realized that the Kerala, if we look at the Kerala example, so now those lessons are also contributing to improving the situation. So basically those are being fed into the planning process also, those are being fed into the training and capacity building also. And in fact now we are trying to, that even the new engineers that are graduating from the colleges and universities are also coming with that knowledge and case examples.
It's great to hear we're learning from the old challenges, but there are new challenges also that we are facing, Dr. Mukta Girdhar. So let me understand your perspective on how vulnerable are the Indian dams to newer challenges like climate change induced extreme weather events that we are seeing in the country. Also the seismological threats, a large part of our country remains in that threat zone. So based on all these challenges, how well are we coping when it comes to the aspect of dam safety?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to express my opinion. So first of all, I will take a seismological point of view. We all are aware that the northern Himalayan zone, that is highly seismically, and most of the dams are built in these areas, which has been used for the hydrological purpose. I think we have to take care of all those things, because that is really the threat. If any dam will burst or something happens because of disaster, because of earthquake, it will create a great havoc. So if we talk about in the perspective of disaster, so there is recently our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has talked 3-4 points during a conference in the Vigyan Bhavan. He said that we have to innovate knowledge, innovate technology, and bring local knowledge, and combine in all those things, try to bring resilience. So that is my second point, that we have take care of these dams with the support of the technology. Recommission is one aspect, but practically I personally feel that it is really difficult in such a scenario. And other way, if you say it is 100 years of age, so yes, why not? We can maintain those dams with the new technology, with the local knowledge, and we can bring resilience. And the second point which I want to focus on, that the people and the community, they have to have their own disaster management plan, and at the same time the state also have the disaster management plan. In case if there is an emergency, what step they have to take, what are the emergency support functionary which we need to call, so that damage should be minimized, and which has to be supported by the technology. So that is my submission.
So let me understand from the Member of Parliament, who's a member of this standing committee also, what the decommissioning process is, Mr. Gamor, and how feasible is this idea to persuade states to go in for decommissioning? How common is this practice also across the globe, especially if we look at these countries like the US and China, who have more number of dams than India?
Actually, people from my area, they love to hear me in Hindi. So if you permit, then may I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
Actually, in our country, we usually design for a period of 100 years. ये एक डैम की औसत लाइफ होती है, परंतु हमारे यहाँ की टोपोग्राफी ऐसी है कि कुछ मामलों में उसकी लाइफ 100 साल से कम हुई है और कहीं जैसा अभी आप बताया कि 300 साल से अधिक है। हमने रिकमेंडेशन ये की है कि हम कोई एक मेकानिज़्म डेवलप करें जो ये बता सके कि ये डैम हमारे लिए उपयोगी है या उपयोगी नहीं है। फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल, अगर किसी डैम की पावर जनरेशन उससे होता है, तो अगर पावर जनरेशन उसके मेंटेनेंस से, उसकी मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट इज, इफ द मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट इज मोर देन द पावर जनरेशन कॉस्ट, सो डेफिनेटली वी विल रिकमेंड कि ऐसे डैम जो हमारे लिए आज फ़ायदा नहीं हो रहा है, उस पर मेंटेनेंस ज़्यादा लग रहा है, तो उसको हम डीकमीशनिंग करने की रिकमेंड करते हैं। दूसरा, जैसे इरिगेशन है, 10,000 हेक्टेयर से अबव है तो वो मेजर डैम है और उसकी इतनी सिल्टिंग हो गई कि उसकी इरिगेशन कैपेसिटी बहुत कम हो गई। इरिगेशन कैपेसिटी कम होने से हमारे जो प्रोडक्शन है वो बहुत बुरी तरीके से प्रभावित हो रहा है। तो फिर हमको उस डैम को डीकमीशनिंग करके उसके स्थान पे कोई दूसरा विकल्प लाना चाहिए ताकि किसानों को उसका नुकसान नहीं हो। जैसा आप जानते हैं कि हम, प्रोफेसर राव ने बोला कि वी आर एग्रो इकोनॉमी। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी का ये सपना है कि हम किसान की आय को दुगना करें, पर ड्रॉप मोर क्रॉप। ये हमारा एक ऐसा वाक्य है जिसके ऊपर भारत सरकार काम कर रही है। अगर जहाँ पर ड्रॉप मोर क्रॉप की जगह अगर हमको नुकसान हो रहा है तो फिर हमको ऐसे डैम को डीकमीशनिंग करना चाहिए। अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारे देश में अभी तक ऐसा ऑफिशियल कोई जानकारी नहीं है कि हमने कोई डैम को डीकमीशनिंग किया हो, परंतु अब जो हमारी बढ़ती हुई आवश्यकताएं हैं, आबादी है, इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ है, इन सब को अगर हम ध्यान में रखते हैं तो हमको डीकमीशनिंग के बारे में भी सोचना चाहिए ताकि हमारा जो आर्थिक नुकसान जो हो रहा है वो आर्थिक नुकसान नहीं हो। फिर दूसरी, सुरक्षा। जैसा हमने बोला कि आर्थिक नुकसान तो एक बार सह सकते हैं, पर जो सेफ्टी इज टॉप मोस्ट प्रायोरिटी। तो अगर हमारा डैम कहीं ना कहीं किसी कारण से कमज़ोर हो रहा है, जैसे अभी हमारे वक्ताओं ने बोला कि सब जो मेजर कारण होता है वो ऑपरेशन में होता है। जैसे हमारा स्लूस गेट है, स्लूस गेट अगर टाइम पे नहीं खुला और कोई आया तो डैम फेलियर होने की बहुत ज़्यादा संभावनाएं बढ़ जाती हैं। तो हमको हर कंपोनेंट की जो लाइफ है वो देखना चाहिए। पर अभी मैं आपको बता दूं कि इस एक्ट के लागू होने के बाद एक बहुत अच्छा काम ये हुआ है कि अब प्रत्येक डैम को अलग अलग लेवल के अधिकारी, डैम की हाइट के हिसाब से डैम का इंस्पेक्शन होता है कि कौन अधिकारी कैसे करेगा। जैसे 15 मीटर हाइट का डैम है, 20 मीटर हाइट का डैम है, 30 मीटर एंड अबव, तो देयर आर डिफरेंट लेवल ऑफ ऑफिसर्स। वो प्री मानसून और पोस्ट मानसून उसकी इंस्पेक्शन करते हैं। इंस्पेक्शन करने के बाद वो बताते हैं कि इस डैम में क्या सुधार कार्य किया जाना है, तत्काल किया जाना है या आवश्यकता नहीं है। तो उस प्रकार से फिर हम उस डैम की सेफ्टी के सब मेजर्स टेकअप करते हैं। अभी हमारी जो कमेटी है वो कमेटी का ये कहना है कि हमारे सब प्रयास अगर विफल हो गए हों, जैसे हम उसका मेंटेनेंस महंगा हो गया हो, या हमारे इंस्पेक्शन के बाद अगर हमारे पास रिपोर्ट आई है कि अब इस डैम की लाइफ कंप्लीट हो गई है, इसको अब आगे नहीं बढ़ाना चाहिए, तो फिर हमको डीकमीशनिंग के बारे में ज़रूर सोचना चाहिए। और मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि दुनिया के कई देशों में इस प्रकार से हो रहा है, तो हमको भी वो चीज़ें करना चाहिए। इस डीकमीशनिंग का क्या फ़ायदा होगा कि हम अल्टरनेट अरेंजमेंट देंगे, हमारा जो लॉस हो रहा था, फाइनेंशियल लॉस, वो रुकेगा, और उस डैम के डाउन स्ट्रीम में जिन लोगों को अपना जीवन खतरे में लगता है वो भी सुरक्षित महसूस करेंगे। इसलिए इन सभी चीज़ों को ध्यान में रखते हुए एक बड़े लार्ज पर्सपेक्टिव में ये जो डीकमीशनिंग की बात की गई है, बड़े सोच विचार करने के बाद किया गया। कई एक्सपर्ट्स की भी राय ली गई है। ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारे मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट बैठ गए और कोई बात की है। जो हमारे अलग अलग डिपार्टमेंट के ऑफिसर्स हैं, अलग अलग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लोग हैं, सबसे एक्सपर्ट ओपिनियन लेने के बाद ये निष्कर्ष निकला है कि जो डैम हमारे लिए अब उपयोगी नहीं है उनकी decommissioning होना चाहिए.
Okay, Professor Gupta, if I may understand from you, what really is the decommissioning process? Why is it so challenging? And despite the threats persisting, it's not the first time that we are talking about these concerns related to dam safety. Why has decommissioning not been thought about? Do we know of any country that has, decommissioned dams and gone back to and restored natural flow of rivers? Something that we could adapt to?
So, I think 3 points come to my mind on this issue. Yes, there are examples of decommissioning a dam also. But here, if we talk about the decommissioning in dams in India, so we will need to have a clear policy about decommissioning. That is the very first thing.
Okay.
Because decommissioning is just not a technical process. And why this kind of a decommissioning policy is very important, because one is how much land is occupied by a dam. If we look at the land area and the landscape being occupied by dams in India, even at present, is huge. And even few of the dams, if we decide to decommission, what we are going to do of that land? Because the water has its own great footprint on the land. We have created dam, so it has created a lot of changes, and if we decommission, again it is going to create new changes. Second thing, we can't live without dam, so if we are going to commission a new dam, where? If it is a new area, what implications on social systems and environment we are going to have? Land is a very, very limiting factor now. Second aspect, when we say decommissioning and age of the dam, there are different views from the co-speakers. One is that despite of the age, that the 100 years or 150 years passed and dams are still working,
yes.
Are many times the dams are structurally fit, but their carrying capacity is lost because of the siltation and any other things. Can we think of something like retrofitting, that we talk in the earthquake safety measures of the old buildings? Can this kind of process can be thought about some of the dams, not for all? After inspection, so I would like to coin a word or use a word here. I would not say coin. Some researchers have also used the health, basically the health of the dam. So basically, it requires the health assessment of the dam, whether the dam is healthy and it is not functioning because of the other lateral factors. So can a remedial process make it work again more efficiently? So this is point number one. Second is, when we talk about the cost benefit analysis, like if the benefits that we are getting from that dam is lesser than the cost of maintenance, whether that remedial interventions can change the CBA. So I think that is also a very important point. Then looking from the disaster risk reduction point of view, when we have created a dam, then the communities were given some sense of security. Some sense of security, and basically we talk of that they shifting the risk from one place to other place. For example, where water was flowing, now flowing is lesser quantity, people have a secure feeling from floods. And other area which got submerged earlier, that might have been a drought prone area, now it is a flood prone area, people are submerged, they move to other areas. So there are not only the ecological but the socio-ecological implications involved, and this sense of security, again, are we going to create a new sense of fear? How are we going to deal with that? So it will be a dual kind of thing, the decommissioning of old dam, thinking of the new dam, and where. And the last point here I would like to say that basically all dams may not have the similar problems. So many of the dams may be corrected by our interventions, by the remedial interventions, and those have to be basically identified. So this kind of assessment that has been suggested by the Parliamentary Committee also, as well as that is emerging from the Dam Safety Act, is very important. Now what also has to be seen, that we also have a disaster management authority at all the levels, national level, state level, down the level. And now this authority is also talking about disasters. So how to have convergence between the planning and excellence of both the authorities, how both are going to represent into each other, not only at central government level, many things are possible, but when we go down, basically, so that aspect has also been
Okay, Mr. Mathur, let me bring you in here. That's an interesting aspect that Professor Gupta points out. Remedial measures to make dams work again. And the second aspect, of course, being on coordination between these authorities to prevent disasters, for the effective health assessment of the dams in India.
Madam, first of all, I would like to thank Professor Gupta that he has enlisted all the aspects related to the decommissioning of the dam. Previously, the word decommissioning of dam was just thrown in the air for the sake of the word only. So now he has listed almost all the aspects that are related to the decommissioning. And for that, again, I would like to thank this parliamentary panel, which has directed the government to bring out the policy, bring out the, or do the all related studies, and then come to the decommissioning. So decommissioning has got all these technical aspects. There can be only two reasons of decommissioning. One, as Professor Gupta said, health. Health can be monitored now. There is elaborate arrangement of monitoring the health of the dams under the Dam Safety Act. Once the provisions were there even before the Dam Safety Act, but now they are mandatory and legal responsibility. So health of the dam now will be, hopefully will be available at the press of the button after 3 years. After December 2024. So if a dam is not healthy enough, then it has to be decommissioned, no doubt about that. Same thing with the economic aspect. As our Honorable MP has also pointed out, that if it is economically unsustainable to correct the health or make it operational, repairs, etc., then also the dam has to be decommissioned. But in India, there is a problem. In India, we have got hardly 300 BCM of the storage for a population of 1.5 billion people. And this storage is not good enough even for the basic needs of a person only. With climate change and all these things, the storage requirement will be very much increased. Yes, there can be some small storages also. There can be check dams and water conservation structures and groundwater also. But for 1.5 billion people, their needs all types of storages, including dams also. Then the decommissioning word is coming from USA. In USA, financial factor is more important. They have got 7% of the population of the world and 33% resources as their accesses. So they can play around having one dam at this place, running it for 30-40 years, decommission it, and then construct a new dam at another place. Because they have got a lot of rivers and lot of waters and lot of play around. But in India, most of the good dam sites are already exhausted. That is why the Dam Safety Act has become more important, because we have to conserve our storages which have already been created. We can't lose any storage. It has got a huge cost, because it is not the direct cost only, it is indirect cost, because losing the storage may starve the people. Losing the storage may put our development in the back gear also. So we have to have a clear-cut policy about monitoring the health, about the maintenance costs, and then we come out with a clear-cut recommendation as desired by the parliamentary committee. And if pushes come to shows and we have to decommission some dam, we should decommission. But otherwise, we must protect our ancestral houses before we construct our new flats.
Okay. That's an important and interesting point that you end with. Professor Rao, the fact is that aging water storage infrastructure is not a problem that only India is grappling with. It's an emerging global risk. The United Nations has flagged serious concerns about it. We are in a situation wherein we are a population globally of more than 8 billion, about 1.4 billion in India. The water needs are only going to grow, and with newer challenges, as all of you have mentioned, of climate change, about these seismological threats as well. How do we ensure effective water management system without having to deal with challenges, the operational challenges, and the huge economic cost, something that we clearly can't afford at this point in time?
Yeah, I'm glad you used the word water management, because I think we need to get out of only the talking about the dams, right, and then look at the larger context and the larger issue. It is the question of a nation whose population is increasing by leaps and bounds, population increasingly living in urban areas as well. So you need to transport large quantum of water from over long distances. More water intensive industries are also on the anvil. So how do you do the water management in this country? And as Mr. Mathur just now mentioned about the whole question of water storage, do we have enough water for the growing population? So how do we manage our water resources? So when you're looking at it from that context, I think efficiency of water management is extremely important. So how efficient is a dam? Maybe you are spending more, but then if it is providing water, so the social benefits are perhaps they weigh much larger than the amount of money that is being spent. So is it possible that you change the pumps and all the electrical infrastructure that goes into, we are all the time talking about the civil engineering infrastructure. What about the electrical engineering infrastructure that goes in there? There are a lot of changes, a lot of developments have come in the kind of turbines. So have we changed our turbines and other machinery that is there in these dams over the last so many years? Cracks in the concrete and repairing the civil structures is one part of the story. But the renewal or the retrofitting, as Professor Gupta mentioned, so the electrical part of it also needs to be looked into so that you can improve the efficiency of the amount of power that a dam can generate. Can you increase that? Having said that, this question of decommissioning, I think we need to be very careful, because you have trained the river in a particular manner, submerged several villages, and you have constructed a dam and you are storing all the water at a particular place. The moment you are decommissioning, then what's going to happen to that structure? Because that water will not continue to be there, because after some time it has to overflow. So are you going to completely break the entire structure? What is going to happen to all the villages downstream who have obviously been shifted out? But then how do you look at the downstream flow of the entire river itself? Because the river has already been, the course of the river has been changed physically by us because of the dam. And now this new course is there for the last 50 years or 80 years or 100 years. And there are settlements that have come over, and then there are villages, there are people, there are... Now, the moment you decommission the dam, then what happens to the structure? And are you going to pull down that structure? Then the question of the new dam, where is it going to be put in? Because water is a huge force. So how are you going to manage that force so that the villages and the towns and the settlements down below, they don't get disturbed, they don't get flooded? So you need to, because once you built a dam, you can't just wish it away, like you change the course of a road, for instance. You see that you decommission railway lines, you decommission railway stations, you decommission roads, and then you change the course of a road and so on. It is easier said than done. In the case of a dam, huge quantum of water has to be rechannelized into some other direction. How are you going to do that? So you need to construct several other structures which would perhaps require and call for a huge amount of financial investments. So do you do that, or is that financial investment actually better put in strengthening the existing dam itself? And of course, desilting is also another possibility. So there are various ways in which this needs to be done. So a clear policy on water management, where decommissioning becomes a subset of the dam safety, and dam management becomes a subset of the overall concept of water management, So agricultural, how do you have better agricultural practices where with lesser water you can produce more? Or with encouraging industries which are less water intensive. So I think we need to look at it from a much larger perspective on every drop of water that is saved.
You're right.
So I think it is in that context we need to take the debate towards that direction. You have a very comprehensive act in place, no doubt. But then the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The implementation of this act, that is very important. So are we really auditing all of this the way in which we need to audit?
And especially, there is a three-layered structure, but what kind of coordination are we seeing between these forces, the owners of dams, is something that's important. Dr. Mukta Girdhar, I have time only to get one last comment from you. You spoke about technology, leveraging technology, and also about increasing awareness. So as we struggle to, adapt to this changing climate and the concept of sustainable development, water management is something that has to be acted upon now. How do we spread awareness about this important resource, which is very limited, but its needs are only growing?
There are several means and ways through which we can create the awareness. And basically, there is, you might have heard about the CAP, Common Alert Protocol, through which we can send the information on the mobile phone.
Right.
Everyone has the mobile phone, and there we can send the message about the do's and don'ts. That is how we can use the technology. And there are other ways like print media, social media. In every way, we use these things to create the awareness, even in the Nukkad drama and all those things. And one more point which I want to emphasize here, that every Professor Rao and Professor have already said that we have to work on the remedial measures. Even my also view on that we have to work on the remedial measures, and with the technology we have to work on the strengthening the dam structure. That is the best possible way. And if we, in spite of all, if we feel that this dam is not good, for the decommission, by the time we have so that we save case of any disaster, damage should not affect to the community.
All right. So that having been said, I'll have to wind up the program. Time allows me to take up only that much on this edition of Perspective. I would like to thank all my guests for joining me on the program today, sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. And to you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well. I'll see you same time tomorrow now. Take good care of yourselves. Keep watching Sansad TV.